Salute! SmackDown 7/25/25. Your amplified review is about to begin. Just 1 week away from SummerSlam, and the entire wrestling world interested last night to see how WWE would handle the passing of Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea. We'll talk about it all in this review. Full disclosure, it is very early on this Saturday morning, just past 7 a.m., but you will be getting a full throttle review of this show. BC has coffee in hand, double shot, macchiato. The camera is rolling, the mic is live, and BC is amplified. So there's only one thing left to do. Grab your beverage of choice, sit back, max, relax, while BC drops those SmackDown facts. Let's do this. So SmackDown 7/25/25, 1 week away from SummerSlam. And we kicked off with the Hulk Hogan tribute, celebrating the career of Hulk Hogan and the life of Terry Bollea. A really well done 10-bell salute with all wrestlers on stage, followed by a roughly 5-minute bio tribute video package, narrated by Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque McMahon, who also did the entire introduction to the 10-bell salute, by the way. This was very Hunter Hearst Helmsley driven, but very well done. When we came out of the video package, we go back to the stage where all wrestlers remained, showing that respect to Hulk, the crowd showing that love for Hulkamania. And the thank you Hogan chant started as we faded to our first commercial. The entire Q1 segment was dedicated to Hulkamania. Very cool. I love how they let this breathe. They didn't try to rush this. The entire first segment was dedicated to this tribute. Nobody acted a fool. It was a badass send-off. Because you didn't know, with all the controversy that surrounds Terry Bollea, you didn't know if there'd be individuals in the crowd where the last thing they wanted to do is celebrate Hulk Hogan for their reasons. But you didn't know, are they going to start shouting things out, being disruptive to others that just want to celebrate Hulk for this night? You didn't know if the talent that was on that stage was going to have this look on their face, like they're being forced to do this. It's the last place they want to be. They don't want to celebrate Hulk. You know, you didn't know. But it genuinely looked like everybody took that moment as one last thank you to Hulk Hogan. An appreciation for a dude that put pro wrestling on his back several times. WWF was going out of business. It was Hulk Hogan. Vince has said this many times. Hulk Hogan is the only dude with that type of charisma that could have put WWF on its back and carried it through those first WrestleManias and kept it in business. And when WCW was down and out, or almost out, and they bet everything on bringing in Hulk Hogan saved WCW, and they started beating WWF to the point where WWF was about to go out of business again without Hulk Hogan. But because Hogan turned heel and formed NWO, WCW got so hot, Vince McMahon was forced to make his product better. And the Attitude Era was born because you could trace it back to Hulk Hogan. He's the one that forced WWF to get better. And WWE was born and saved. So Hulk Hogan saved WWF, WCW, and WWE. All in one career. That's how monumental this dude has been to this industry. So everybody, most, just wanted to celebrate this dude. At the bare minimum, celebrate the career of Hulk Hogan, regardless of how you feel about Terry Bollea. And you have every right to feel such. And those are discussions that were had and will always be had. But in just a day after this news breaks, yeah, I think everybody needed this moment to just, as a final thank you to a dude that has done so much for this industry. A dude who's the reason most of those wrestlers on that stage are there because Hulk. A lot of the people in that crowd, dare I say most, are fans directly or indirectly because of Hulk Hogan, man. It was so cool to see everybody just come together and celebrate. Even if you didn't care for Terry Bollea, the dude. So that was cool. And just panning to Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton and Miz, you know, them on stage and thinking about how they've been bumping into Hulk Hogan since they were kids. Cody with his father, Dusty, of course, and Randy and his father, Bob Orton. And Miz is a wrestler. He's on that stage, he has said many times, because of Hulk Hogan, the Warriors, the Savages, like BC and a lot of you guys. But even just seeing like Tommaso Ciampa or Aleister Black, they were just really into this tribute and really in deep thought. And it's just cool, man. It was really cool. Everybody from Nathan Frazier to, I don't know. There were so many people. It was really cool to see them fly in Jim Duggan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Jimmy Hart was there in tears, really one of Hulk Hogan's best friends for forever. A lot of people don't realize that. He managed Hulk Hogan a little bit, and he was the nemesis manager of Hulk Hogan for years. They were actually the best of friends. He was in tears. He's been with Hulk Hogan through right up until he passed. So Jimmy Hart was there. Bruce Pritchard, who worked with Hulk Hogan. You guys don't know how instrumental Bruce Pritchard was back in those 90s. The Undertaker that you ended up seeing, the Dead Man Undertaker and that whole character. Bruce Pritchard takes a lot of heat in this industry. You don't get The Undertaker, and you don't get a lot of those segments with Hulk Hogan without Bruce Pritchard, actually. So they put Bruce Pritchard up there in the front as well, right next to Hunter Helmsley. Eric Bischoff couldn't make it, but he sent out some words beforehand. It was just too last minute for him, and he had prior plans. But it was cool to see, you know, some of the legends come back. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. I mean, if you were a fan, if you were around and growing up in those late 80s, early 90s, it's just cool to see these people up there with the new pro wrestlers of 2025. But I don't know what else I can really, you know, I don't want to drag this review out with just the opening segment, but I think it deserves to be kind of just talked about how good this was done. The only thing I would change, two things. Some characters, and Vince would do this too. There was times that they would do these 10 bell salutes, and individuals like Undertaker or and a few others, they would remain in the back. It's just, it doesn't look right for the character. It just doesn't fit. They're still showing respect. Uncle Howdy, because he's in mask and everything. If you're going to do that, just have Bo Dallas. Guys, these are minor nitpicks, I know, on a bigger situation. It's a review. It's full throttle. I said how so well done this was. There's just a few things that I will say didn't fit. Just have him as Bo Dallas. Boom. That's it. Have him out there as Taylor. Mask, don't do that. I mean, his segment wasn't until the end of the show anyway, so he didn't need to be full mask. It was weird to see Uncle Howdy out there, and the whole Wyatts, but especially Uncle Howdy. Vince had a way to do this where they would be standing right there in Gorilla showing that respect, but just not there for the audience. I know it's minor, but guys, come on. You're panning everybody, and Uncle Howdy's just there, and then you're supposed to really get into his segment later when he comes out all mysterious. Doesn't go. The only other little nitpick I have is it was so Hunter Hearst Helmsley like centered, man. Helmsley did this whole introduction to the 10 bell salute. Maybe somebody else, maybe just let Bruce Pritchard do that. He was around for Hulk Hogan's career. Let him take control of that. Maybe you don't have to do that. You concentrate on other things. The narration was completely narrated by Helmsley. Where would he find the time to do this? Jimmy Hart let Jimmy Hart do that. It would be cool if Ted DiBiase, and he's got that narrating voice, right? Helmsley does not have a voice for narration. He just doesn't. You guys know what I mean, right? He tries to narrate everything. He tries to do the video, the voiceovers and the promos. He just doesn't. He doesn't have that, like, at least Vince McMahon. You're fired. Vince could really get into it when he used to do the WrestleMania SummerSlam promos. Hunter doesn't have that voice, so he's doing this 5-minute narration. There's just so many ways you could have really done this better that would have been more impactful with people that were directly associated and affected by Hulk Hogan. Minor nitpicks, I know, but but you should have known Helmsley was going to be literally the center of all this for 15 minutes. All right, couple nitpicks. What? It's a full throttle review, I told you, right? I said it was a very well done tribute, but it's a full review, so I got to tell you some of the things that maybe could have been tweaked a little bit. But no, it was honestly well done. A good send-off for Hulk. I'm glad that's the response. The lasting response in terms of Hulk Hogan, because the last time he came out for a WWE show, there was a lot more boos than usual. Ever since the controversy, there was sprinkled in boos. But in LA, this was right after he, showed that support for the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And a lot of LA just doesn't like that. And that's why those boos were magnified. So in hindsight, they probably should not have paraded Hulk Hogan after he showed the support for Trump in LA of all places. So he got that reaction. But I really hope that Hogan was able to hear that reaction last night. And I think he did. I think he stopped his match with the Ultimate Warrior up high. Hold on, brother. Listen to that pop. I packed the house, brother. I'm sure Hogan was very pleased with that send-off. One other thing I would have liked to have seen is them show some more clips last night of Hogan and Savage or Hogan and Warrior. They showed a lot of old school Hogan and Sheik, Hogan and Andre. I get it. Those are the, some iconic moments when Hogan was really putting WWF on its back when it was about to go out of business. I understand that. But, there's so many more other moments that you got to show today's fan, like how electric those moments were, how electric these characters were. Now, I think we're still going to see some tributes and celebration on Monday Night Raw. Helmsley loves to fill time, and he's got an extra half an hour on Mondays. So maybe that's a good spot to show those, early part of Hogan on SmackDown, and maybe we'll start to see those clips on Monday night. Oh boy, Q2. Q2, man. Then we had to go into business, The show must go on is what Vince used to say. Q2 was Logan Paul, Jellyroll, Drew Mac, and Orton brawling. Just brawling. The faces take out the heels, and here's the issue. BC's going to drop the facts, man, as I always do. What else needs to be seen? We've seen Jellyroll and Randy Orton beat up Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. We've even seen it on the Tonight Show? One of those late night shows. They actually, they had Jellyroll and Randy beat up Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. Logan Paul was put through the late night table, whatever talk show it was, because Jellyroll was guest hosting. So what's the stakes now, right? What more needs to be seen? A W? Because you've already seen McIntyre and Logan Paul get beat up by Jellyroll and Randy. So what do you need to pay money for SummerSlam? Just to see him get a W? The whole point is watching the heels get their asses whooped finally. That culmination where the faces won up the heels. That's the problem when you replace story for cop-out booking. Brawls are easy, but they leave nothing left to be seen. Nothing left to be desired. So it's clear the whole thing here was, hey man, we got Jellyroll coming in for a SummerSlam match. We can use him with Logan Paul. They never thought of a story. We'll just have them brawl at the late night show. We'll have them brawl on SmackDown. We'll have them brawl the next week on SmackDown. Next week, we'll have them brawl 24 hours before their match at SummerSlam. I still don't really fathom why we're getting Logan Paul and Jellyroll in such an intense feud, supposedly. Why are they They just had one mix-up. All of a sudden, Randy and Drew are in this. It's a mixed tag. It's so volatile they're going to the late night show. I wish more was thought, more was put into this, into the story part of it. And then I could care more about Jellyroll and Randy beating the hell out of Logan and Drew all the time. And don't forget, all of this is supposed to be building suspense to see them wrestle at SummerSlam. So for what? To see Logan and Drew get beat up again? I don't know, man. Is there ways we could have done this where they're not just beating each other up all the time and maybe just more story driven so you want to see them actually fight at SummerSlam? But it's easier if you just go, you know what? I don't want to think about this right now. Go out there and brawl. Roxy Perez, one half of your tag team champions, then defeats Alexa Bliss via the awe-inspiring, ultra-devastating Fruit Roll-Up. This was a, I don't know, when I think of Roxy, who I respect so much, and Alexa Bliss, who I became a big supporter of when she hooked up with Bray Wyatt in that tandem. I was hoping, and I did think that this would be a better matchup than what it was. I think with Raquel and Charlie out there and all the shtick that they had to do on the outside, and because of that, it affected what Alexa and Roxy had to do because there were spots they had to do with Charlie and Raquel. I think that's what took away from it. I think if you just had this one up, no outside Raquel or Charlie, this would have been better. And case in point, you know, there's a huge botched dive from Alexa to Raquel on the outside. Just too much time was spent. Raquel has Charlie outside in a powerbomb position, staring up at Alexa, who was originally going to jump off the turnbuckle onto Roxy, but then sees that Charlie is about to get powerbombed. So it takes Alexa, for some reason, it takes her 5 years to turn on the top turnbuckle and dive onto Raquel on the outside. So the whole time Alexa's doing that, Raquel's not even trying to make it look like she's, you know, getting Charlie more set up. Or Charlie's not putting up a little fight. No, the whole time Raquel has Charlie between her legs, powerbomb position, and is just staring at Alexa waiting. And finally, when Alexa is ready to launch, Raquel throws Charlie aside. Too early, by the way. Alexa wasn't even off the turnbuckle yet. Chucks Alexa like she's going to do something. Like, oh, I don't know, you could just move out of the way at that point. But stands there and takes the crossbody, which didn't even land, by the way, after all that time. Go back. It was horrible. This is someone who respects Alexa Bliss and Roxy so much. Supporter of both ladies. But wow, was that rough. Surely new champions at SummerSlam, you're thinking, right? I mean, if Alexa Bliss is taking that loss this close to SummerSlam and they're facing for the titles at SummerSlam, you got to believe that Charlie Flair is walking away with a championship. I told you, this was the plan all along, right? Alexa is being used to try to give all the rub that she had. All of that rub is going right over to Charlie. All of that admiration and love that the crowd has shown Alexa since she's came back. They want that for Charlie, but it doesn't work. So they stuck her with Alexa, and they're going to be champs. We've seen this with Asuka. I'm not going to go over it again. I've said it a million times. You're seeing the same exact thing. This is all for Charlie. This has nothing to do with Alexa. They're just using Alexa's momentum and crowd reaction, and they're trying to manufacture that over to Charlie. It doesn't work in the long run. We saw this with Asuka. And if you need more evidence of that, what happened last week, guys? What happened last week? Charlie Flair defeated one half of your tag team champions, Raquel Rodriguez, last week. Why is your champion losing just because it's Charlie? And Charlie has to win on TV. Charlie's hand has to be raised. Alexa Bliss is raising the hand of Charlie Flair. Referee on one side, Alexa on the other side. Alexa on one side, ref on the other, and Charlie's in the middle as the big star. Charlie beats one half of your tag champions. But this week, what happened last night? Alexa's now in a position that Charlie was in. This time it's with Roxy, the other half of the tag champions. And for Alexa, you have to lose. Charlie has to win. You lose, Alexa, because Alexa has all the momentum, all the crowd reaction. People love Alexa. Why is Alexa losing? This has nothing to do with Alexa. Charlie has to win. But don't worry, Raquel and Roxanne, you'll get the W back when we throw Alexa in there. Why is Alexa looking up at the lights, man? You're killing her momentum on purpose. Alexa's not part of the plan. She was not supposed to be this over. She's not the chosen one. It's not Charlie. And when they win the titles at SummerSlam, remember, this has nothing to do with Alexa. Once they feel that Charlie's got that some crowd reaction to another notch, Alexa will be kicked to the curb. Charlie will eventually have the championship. And Alexa will try to make it out of catering. That's what happened. Asuka was your women's champion when they hooked her up with Charlie. Was the champion when they hooked Charlie up with Asuka. The tag titles, they won them to try to get that rub to Charlie. When it was all said and done, Asuka would lose her title. And do you know who would end up with it eventually? It was Charlie Flair, when it was all said and done, who would have that championship. And Asuka couldn't get TV time after that. That's all I'm going to say on it, man. It's, it just sucks to see that pop. It was one of the loudest at the Royal Rumble for Alexa Bliss. One of the loudest. And instead, they kept her off TV right after. And then they kept her off of WrestleMania. They didn't like the fact that she was over. They wanted that for Charlie. Who was at Mania, though, in a big title match with Tiffany? Charlie. Who was winning the Rumble? Charlie. Who was getting the biggest pop? Who did the crowd want to see? Alexa. And they take her off big events. They put her in catering. They tell her to go home. We'll have something for you in a little bit. And then when they finally have her come back, they say, we're going to stick Charlie with you. What? It's frustrating. It's just because we've done this for 10 years. That's what's frustrating. The fact that this company tries all these tricks and tries to manufacture this fake response. If you have to stick someone with the person, they're probably not going to be the person. That's probably not going to be the person if you got to stick them with the person. We'll stick with the ladies. Jade Cargill kicks Chelsea Green's ass backstage, then drags her. First carries her and then drags her to the ring, and we have an impromptu match. The whole match was basically during break because we come back, and a minute later, Cargill hits Jaded and pins Chelsea 1, 2, 3. Post-match, the Hervis attacks. Tiffy time for the save. They fend off the heels. And then the faces partake in a SummerSlam stare down. Of course, Tiffany defending the championship against Jade. I don't like this match at all. I see the potential in Jade. I've always have. I see there's a presence there. There's potential. I just don't know if her heart is truly in pro wrestling, if she sees herself doing this in 10 years. Maybe she does. Not sure. It doesn't feel that way. I feel she should be farther along and not as green right now. And if the company is going to put a piece of the rocket on her, I think there's better ways to do it. SummerSlam against Tiffany Stratton, face versus face. I don't know if Jade is ready for that spot, and I don't think there's enough of the crowd to care about Jade in that spot right now. So I don't think I hope Helmsley is not thinking about putting that title on Jade. Tiffany's title reign was to lose it to a face at SummerSlam, and not just any Jade Cargill. I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this matchup. It's just so odd. I guess I always had Tiffany and Naomi having a multi-month feud, and Naomi being the one to take it because Naomi's work is so flawless. But I can't be upset about Naomi winning Money in the Bank and carrying a briefcase. Trust me. But I think I always would have found a way to have that moment be Naomi, Tiffany, long-term story. Naomi ends up getting that heel. Conquers the face. This is a weird match for BC, man. Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton. Very odd. If you're trying to really get Jade over, put her in a badass story with a heel that people want to see get their ass whooped. Jade Cargill can get more over. You heard the response last night. 50-50, even more so for Tiffany. 70-30? I don't get this. Jacob Fatu pins Miz post-match. Solo and his MFTs attack Fatu. I don't mind this, especially if Fatu is winning the title back. He'd have to take a whooping from the heels first. This is Pro Wrestling 101. Could you have gotten more creative? Could this have gone better? Of course, 1,000,000,000%, but I don't mind it. I'm not going to nitpick this one. My gripes are on these stupid-ass names. I mean, Jacob Fatu is badass. You don't need to manufacture that. So calling him a Samoan werewolf, and I don't even care, well, BC, he came up with the name Samoan werewolf. I don't care who came up with it. You can't call this guy a Samoan werewolf. It's laughable. I mention that, by the way, because during that match, I had a very good friend over, and I'm doing my notes, and she turns to me and says, Samoan werewolf? And I go, excuse me? Because I wasn't really paying attention, doing my notes, kind of looking up. I'm tuning out Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett. And she just says again, his name is Samoan Werewolf. And I looked up and I'm like, oh, Jacob Fat. Yes, that's the Samoan Werewolf. And that's the conversation. How do you explain that? Jacob Fatu. Okay, badass. If you gotta have a nickname, okay, make it bad. Samoan Werewolf. Try telling somebody who doesn't watch that's the werewolf. And clearly he's Samoan Werewolf. He howls in the night. He transforms like Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox. He's the Samoan Werewolf. And it goes over to the MFTs. What are we up to? Listen to these names. Why do they all say it's like a riddle? Tamatonga, Tongaloa, and Tolatonga. Now they added just call him Hikaleu, dude. He's Hikaleu. Tamatonga, Tongaloa, Tolatonga. Tamatonga, Tongaloa, Tolatonga. Cowabunga. I don't understand it. These names are just... It's getting ridiculous, man. Cody Rhodes promo is next. This will not be a regular street fight, he says. That was all this was, by the way. No John Cena. This reminds me of the WrestleMania build when Cena wasn't there often. So Cody, like he usually does... He's usually in something with Rock, Roman, John Cena. Poor Cody. He usually has to sell these feuds by himself. And he did that last night in a promo. But again, those words that he said, this will not be a regular street fight. I'm holding you to it, dude. Veteran subscribers to this channel know very well how I feel about street fights. If you're gonna call it a street fight, it has to have something to do with an actual street. I don't care if it's a couple of minutes, but go out into the street and then come back if you gotta. But don't call it a street fight and then all you're doing is using some kendo sticks, some trash cans and trash can lids, some thinly placed wooden tables. Maybe you got some ladders. That's not a street fight. I don't know how many street fights you guys have been in, but I've been in many, and I don't recall using or having a kendo stick be used. I don't remember too many tables that I was, maybe the bar room, yes, actually. But that would just be called a bar fight. Anyway, trash cans and trash can lids, I don't remember picking up too many. I don't know, man. I don't know how many ladders I would have. Hold on, right? I'm going to get a ladder in my street fights. I don't know. That's not a street fight. In pro wrestling, that's called no holds barred or no DQ. No DQ, no count out. There's names for that. So isn't a street fight in WWE today, I'm being serious, isn't that just a no DQ match? Isn't that just what a no holds barred match is? Why are we calling it a street fight? A street fight should be reserved for an actual street fight. No? So Cody says this will not be a regular street fight. All right. It's not like they're at a regular arena. They can just go out a back door and there's the parking lot and then the street. This is a stadium, MetLife. So Cena is very limited anyway. That's why this is even a street fight and not a wrestling match. Cena knows he can't really have those type of matches anymore. So it's a street fight. Okay, so get cinematic with it. Cody says this is not your regular street. Start off in the street, man. MetLife. You have New York, New Jersey, man. You're right on that line. Start off in a subway or start off in the street. I don't know. Cody gets jumped in the parking lot or jumps John Cena. They leak out into the street. They somehow hit the PATH train into the city. I don't care. You start the night off with that. By the end of the night, they wind up back at the arena and they leak through they wind up in the ring somehow. Listen, you go, BC, that's so bonkers, man. That's not even realistic. Are you kidding me? One of the funnest things, man, was back at WrestleMania 12. It was Goldust and Roddy Piper. They were supposed to have what was called a Hollywood Backlot Brawl. Hollywood Backlot Brawl. So you have to be in the Hollywood backlot. So what does this have to do with the people that pay the money? They want to see them in the ring. So what they did, they started out in the Hollywood backlot, in the parking lot, and they were beating the heck out of each other. Roddy Piper and Goldust, Dustin Rhodes, started out in the parking lot, in the streets. Goldust jumps in a vehicle. Roddy Piper jumps in a vehicle. They take it to the streets, and they literally ride around L.A. It was the OJ white SUV Jeep deal. Do you guys remember that? Probably too young. Anyway, so throughout the event, WrestleMania, they kept going back to the chase. Roddy Piper is chasing down Goldust was the storyline. And you keep going back and there's this aerial footage. It was the OJ footage because it was the white vehicle. But you didn't know that it was Roddy Piper is the story. So he's chasing Goldust through the streets of Los Angeles. And by the end of WrestleMania 12, not the actual main event, but toward the end of the show, they come back to the stadium, to the arena, and they start brawling back into the arena and eventually would get to the ring. So the fans were even more into it because they've been following this on the Tron the whole time throughout the show. And now they get to see it right in front of them. My point is, guys, it's just creativity. It's pro wrestling. It's supposed to be wacky and outside the box. That's why we fell in love with it. We talk about Hulk Hogan and characters like that. Larger than life. Storylines that are wild. That's what wrestling is. We have to get out of this mindset that it's a true sport and we have to find out the winners and the losers and just put on your wrestling tights and have a 5-star classic. Do some flips and dives and make us go, this is awesome 12 times a match. That's making wrestling boring. It's not where wrestling is, and wrestling can't survive like that. We need larger than life characters where all these wrestlers are passing away and there's nobody with that type of charisma and personality replacing them. We're losing the Savages and the Warriors and the Hogans and such, and the Pipers we just mentioned, gone. Where's the next crop that has that type of personality or charisma, or even in the same ballpark? There is none. Get creative. You call this a street fight. Cody just said it's not going to be your regular street fight. Cool? Make it cinematic. Start outside. It's MetLife, bro. You're in New York, New Jersey. You're right on the line. There's so much you could do. And you could always find your way back into the arena. Creativity. Make this fun. You got over a full week after Cody just said this. You have over a full week. BC's going to hold you to it. It's not your regular street fight. Cool? Let's do this. Get creative. Get out of MetLife. And then find your way back. Make it creative. Make it a whole... It's 2 nights, too, by the way. You can make this so cool throughout the whole night. They're night 2. We're going to go over the night card, by the way. They announced all of night 1 and night 2. SummerSlam Saturday, SummerSlam Sunday. So this is going to be the main event of SummerSlam night 2, Sunday. So you have all show to do all of that and then wind up back in the arena. Creativity. But you're probably just going to get Cody and Cena in the ring. Kendo sticks, tables, ladders, trash cans, steel steps. All right, that's all. See what I mean? I mean, if you're going to call it, man, BC gets creative, man. If you guys are wondering, again, for context, if you guys ever have time, WrestleMania 12, it was Goldust, Roddy Piper, Hollywood Backlot Brawl. And you'll have to watch the rest of WrestleMania because they kept going back to it. But just to show you how you can do things like that if you just show some effort, show that you care, and you want to actually give a good product, some fun entertainment. Quick backstage segment. I just want to talk real quick, just because it was funny. Zelina Vega walks up to Julia, who has Kiana James basically as her new wise man. So her wise woman, Kiana James. I think this is a pretty good tandem. James is a little bit taller than Julia, obviously. I think she was in heels too. That didn't help. But it goes. Kiana is convincing in this role as the wise woman to Julia. And Zelina showed that conviction. She walked up with purpose. And she wants that match with Julia to get her title back. And Julia's not having it. She's letting Kiana talk. But at the very end, Julia does. She cuts Kiana off, and Julia tells Zelina no problem. I think they made a match for like next week, is it? I believe that was I think it's next week, that title match. But anyway, I thought this was really good. Everybody played their role believable, right? It was very realistic. And I just love the line that Zelina gave. Zelina has told Kalani. Thinking Kalani Jordan from NXT. Kiana James. Zelina tells Kiana something like, shut up, clipboard Karen. And I don't know why, but it was like a spit coffee out moment. I don't know why that popped BC. Nobody wants to hear from clipboard Karen. I'm like, clipboard Karen? How is that not going to stick? Now when I see Kiana, it's clipboard Karen. Anyway, that was worth the mention. It was a quick little 30-second segment backstage, but hey, if it pops BC, it's going to get the mention. We went into the main event next, guys. Let me get a swig of coffee. We'll talk Wyatt 6, Andrade Phoenix for the tag titles. What an odd faces versus faces matchup. But hey, it's a title defense. It's always on. They never do this at like the pay-per-views. Or if they do, it's like all of the tag teams in there at once. Fatal 4-ways or some wild thing. Which, by the way, when this was all said and done, Nick Aldis would actually announce that. So we got coffee, we'll talk. So the Wyatts, Andrade, and Phoenix for the tag titles. Andrade and Phoenix win via DQ after Nikki Cross drags the referee out of the ring. Now the Wyatts have been acting more face, right? They're kind of like faces. The crowd likes the Wyatts. Nikki Cross does some heel tactics and rips the referee out to get DQ'd. Are they more heel now? This was very odd to me, this type of booking. And then the entire tag division empties out into one giant brawl. What? How original! If you follow the channel, you know it's a running joke on the channel that every single week, every SmackDown, you will see every tag team in a segment together. They don't know what they're doing with the tag division. There is none. There's good teams, but there's no division. There's no consistency, continuity. The only thing consistent is that Hunter Hearst Helmsley is going to tell them all to brawl every week. So it's a running joke that every week you're going to see every tag team in the same segment together because they don't have time, or they do. They don't have a moment to be bothered to make the time to create a real division and to create fun stories with two sets of teams over here and maybe another What? 2 separate storylines at the same time involving 4 teams. Storyline over here with 2 teams. Storyline over here. What? We'll just put them all in the same thing because we can't be bothered to create. So it continued. Another title match that ends with every tag team out there. And then Aldis comes out as everybody's brawling. It was such a botch too because everybody took themselves out. They did the thing, the spot fest where Montez jumps over the turnbuckle and lands on 6 people waiting to catch him. I think Tommaso did like a dive onto like 4 other people waiting to catch him. And that's when all of the officials in suits and ties, everybody came out. So they all come running out to break up a brawl, but it was mistimed. Everybody was out, down and out. So everybody came out and awkwardly was just like, break it up, break it up. Everybody's down and out. Nobody's even fighting at that moment. They're like, break it up. Yeah, that's right. Stay down. Like, what the fuck is happening? Then everybody gets back up and just starts brawling again. It was so weird. Aldis gets a mic, a live mic, gets up on the turnbuckle, looks down at everybody's outside the ring brawling. And he's like, enough! You know when Adam Pearce just starts flipping out? Enough! I've had it, and I'm pretty sure everybody else has had it. Yes, we have. We see this booking every single week. So he says at SummerSlam, he says, all of you, every team, titles suspended up high in a tables, ladders, and chairs matchup for the titles. Tables, ladders, and chairs tag team, every tag team. At this point, guys, it's so laughable. BC, I literally put this in my notes. Let's go. You know what? That could be fun. If they're not going to care, you know what? For this weekend, next weekend, SummerSlam, I'm not going to give a shit. Just go out there and be circus monkeys. Flip all around, dive, make us go. Just do all the cool things and make us go, whoa. I'm sure it'll be an entertaining 20, 25 minutes. A lot of action. At this point, it's an attraction thing, man. I don't know. So, I have to say this. I want to run down these cards because I will say this, as random as some of the card is, I understand, as last minute as some of these matches are, like this match just made a week before, and there still should be one match on Saturday, SummerSlam Night 1 that needs to be added, and at least two more on Sunday to just make 7-7. This isn't a normal premium live event. I keep wanting to say PPV, pay-per-views or AEW now. Premium live event. This isn't just some normal thing where you just throw on 5 or 6 matches. This is SummerSlam. You made it 2 nights because it's supposedly too big to handle for one night. Well, you can't just put 6 matches on. It has to at least be 7, I feel. That's where the crowd will get their money's worth because they're paying a lot of money. And Sunday, SummerSlam Night 2 only has 5 matches as of the recording of this upload. 5. So there's still matches that need to be thrown out, I believe, on Monday Night Raw and maybe even next week, 24 hours before SummerSlam. So yes, I have my nitpicks of this card. In a lot of ways, it's just redoing WrestleMania all over again. They didn't learn their lesson, and they didn't plan properly. And when you add in all these other events for a quick cash grab, Night of Champions, Money in the Bank, Saturday night's main event, Evolution, all these events, Clash in Paris in just a few weeks, a couple of weeks after SummerSlam is Clash in Paris. All these money grabs, you can't properly build. Or you can, but you have to devote even more time. They don't have the time. At least they don't want to make time for creativity in this business, in this company. So what they do is they make matches last minute. And they expect the audience to just be totally into it. Yeah! But I will say this, as they're running down the card for Night 1 and Night 2, there's some potential here. There's some potential for some good things to happen next weekend at SummerSlam. I will say it is a better 2-night card than WrestleMania. Somehow, with how poor this has all been, just a poor SummerSlam season, like a poor WrestleMania season, somehow, it came together to be a decent card, man. Check out Night 1, Saturday, SummerSlam Saturday. Punk Gunther World Title. Roman, Uso, Braun, and Braun. Tiffany, Jade. Alexa, Charlie, Roxy, Raquel. Logan, Drew, Jellyroll, Orton. Sammy, and Cross. SummerSlam Night 2, Sunday. Cena, Cody, Becky, Lyra, Naomi, Io, Rhea, Solo, Fatu, Mysterio, Styles. Okay, maybe it's not as good as I was thinking last night. When they were showing everything, I was like, okay, this could be good. Now that I'm looking at it, now it's going back to this isn't that great. Becky and Lyra for the 85th time. Naomi, Io, and Rhea. Rhea is... We're just running back Rhea and Io again. Now we're just throwing Naomi in there. But Naomi's got the briefcase, so why would Naomi... I don't know. Roman, Uso, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed? Really? That's what Roman came back for, this weird tag match? Tiffany and Jade, face versus face. Should Jade even be in that spot, in that match? Alexa is stuck with Charlie to go for these tag titles. And Jellyroll, Orton, Logan, and Drew McIntyre. We've already seen them brawl so much. Who needs to see the match now? What's the substance? Okay, maybe it's not as good as I thought. Last night, it just seemed like when they were showing it, it seemed better. Now that I'm talking about it, it doesn't seem as good anymore. 6 matches for Saturday, 5 for Sunday. Punk, Gunther, and Cena and Cody would be the matches of each night. Punk, Gunther Saturday, Cena, Cody for BC anyway. But I think maybe it's because, they got the street fight supposedly. They have the TLC match. They have the cage match with Solo and Fatu. So maybe it's because they have some it's a lot of stipulations that could make this more fun. I don't know. Now I'm just I'm doing a lot of side thinking now. I'll do that on my own time. I won't waste your guys' time. Now I'm just trying to comprehend the card more. But that's SummerSlam, guys. That's how SmackDown went off the air last night. Everybody brawling, and Nick Aldis made a quick week before SummerSlam matchup. All the teams will be facing each other. I told you guys that was going to happen. They don't want to put any creativity into this division, into anything in this company. So they just do the easiest thing. Everybody brawl every week, and then we'll put you all in a match together. All right, guys, that's what I got for you, man. SmackDown 7/25/25. The big story here is obviously the Hogan tribute. So everything else was just kind of, it's what it is. And I think the tribute was done well. And I think that's a good send-off. I think we'll see a little bit more on Monday Night Raw. I think it was well done. I think it was done in a way where no matter how you feel about Terry Bollea, you could still not... you could still just go, all right. You know what I mean? That's his send-off. Thanks for what you did in the wrestling industry. And for those that were really big Hulk Hogan fans, man, that was a special moment. Helmsley heavy. Very Helmsley heavy. But, we looked past that, man. It was about Hulk Hogan. It was about HH, not HHH. That's it, guys. All right, we'll do it again. I don't know if there'll be an impromptu tomorrow, though, but we'll start the whole SummerSlam week festivities on Monday for sure. Probably a double upload, maybe something earlier in the day. Maybe we can go live before Monday Night Raw, maybe even do an hour watch along. I don't know. We'll do something special for SummerSlam week for sure. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. BC in the unit, and we're saying check you. Salud. Thank you, Hulk Hogan.